I'm going to give a recipe for quiche a shot. This involves obviously eggs and flour and vegetables and some spices. And we'll see how this turns out. Through the magic of time lapse, you guys know how this works by now. Everything is ready for preparation. On the right there, I have the ingredients for the dough for the quiche: oil, water, rosemary, salt, and flour. And then on the left are all the ingredients that are going to fill the quiche: the eggs, mushrooms, zucchini, onions, tomatoes, a little oregano, some salt, feta cheese, spinach cakes, and garlic. And then in the bottom there, in the purple container, I have Greek yogurt. The recipe calls for milk, but I don't actually drink or ever use milk. I eat cheese, but I just don't prefer milk. So I made the substitution with Greek yogurt. And we'll move on to the dough stage. I've got all the dough ingredients into the bowl, and I'm going to mix them now and see if I can get something to come together. I've got a little dough ball here that I'm going to roll out briefly, and then I'll put it into the pan that I'm using to cook the quiche. The recipe in most quiches call for a round pan. I don't have a round pan, so I'm going to use a square baking dish and see if we can get it to come out just the same. So my dough is into the pan to form the pie crust, and now we'll move on to the step of putting together the other ingredients to fill it. We're going to do a little bit of pre-cooking for the quiche, so we're going to add the onions and a pinch of salt until the onions start to brown. Then we'll add the garlic, the tomatoes, the zucchini, and the mushrooms. I misspoke. The goal isn't for the onions to be brown, but for them to be translucent. So that's where I'm at. And now I'm going to add the garlic, the tomatoes, cook for a little bit, and then finally add the zucchini and mushrooms. The garlic, onion, and tomatoes are all cooking up nicely together. Next we'll add the zucchini and mushrooms, and we'll cook this for about 10 minutes until all the veggies have softened up. So we've let everything cook and soften up together. Also added the oregano, and the next step would be to add the greens, the spinach, and you would leave it in there until the leaves started to wilt. Now, this is change number 2. I had frozen spinach, so my leaves are probably not going to wilt as much, but I'm going to add them to this to get all the flavors together. Another great thing about this is this would make a great base for a vegetable tomato sauce. I could see adding a couple of cans of whole tomatoes with their juice and turning this into a really good pasta sauce. So we'll add the spinach, and then we'll move on to the next step. So everything is combined, and now it's going to go into the pie crust as the filling, and then the next step after that would be to add the eggs. So I'll get this into the pie crust and move on to that. My filling is in the quiche. It also calls for you to crumble up the spinach cakes that I cooked earlier and add to this before we pour in the eggs. The spinach cakes are in the filling, and now it's time to whisk the eggs and pour them over the top. You're going to combine the eggs and milk, or in my case, eggs and yogurt. Added a dash of salt and ground up some pepper for the eggs, and now they get poured over the filling. And the last step is to add the feta cheese. Spread that around a little bit so all the cheese is in one spot. And this goes into the oven for 40 minutes at 400 degrees. Okay, let's get it in the oven for 40 minutes and see what we get back. Here it is out of the oven. I've let it cool a bit, and I'm going to cut it and put it on the plate, see how it tastes. It's plated, crust came out crisp. The egg set pretty well, and now it's just time to give it a taste.